morning Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
A major trade union interested in taking over Trinidad and Tobago's soon-to-be-closed oil refinery. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Friday, September 14th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. Less than 3 weeks after it publicly refused an offer from the Trinidad and Tobago government to buy the refinery at the state-owned oil company Petrotrin, the Oilfield Workers Trade Union, the OWTU, has had a change of heart. It's now seeking a partner to take over the refinery. Late last month, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley announced that his administration was prepared to give the first option to the OWTU to own and operate the refinery. But it rejected the offer, saying that a union could never realistically buy a multi-billion-dollar refinery, and the offer was merely a ruse for the government to sell the refinery to a preferred buyer. But as we hear in this report from Fane Richards of TV6 News, OWTU leader Ansel Roger now says the union is interested in a joint venture lease arrangement.
We are prepared to work with reputable business and investors in a joint venture to lease the Pointe-à-Pierre refinery. I want to put that out here this morning. The OWTU's position is not to buy or to own the refinery for ourselves to make profit for the OWTU and its members alone. Any type of arrangement that we would enter into, that arrangement must see these assets remaining in the hands of the people and benefiting the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
The idea is part of the OWTU's multi-option proposal for restructuring Petrotrin. The plan was unveiled to anxious Petrotrin workers facing the breadline. President General Ansel Roger says the proposal can solve the company's production and exploration woes and keep the refinery open. The union has always stridently resisted any suggestion to put Petrotrin's assets in private hands. Energy Minister Franklin Cahn said last week the refinery or its assets could be offered to a commercial buyer. Should the OWTU be part of a joint venture, it says it wants to share in managing the company. Taxes and rents would be paid to the state, ensuring the public still benefits from the arrangement. So does the union have an investment partner in the wings?
We have had, as I said, quite a significant number of representatives of investors talking with us as we speak. As a matter of fact, up till late last night, we were in discussions with some of them. And they are prepared to give us letters of expression of interest once the government is serious.
He declined to name these prospective investors since he says talks are just beginning. The union leader also addressed the Prime Minister's concern that a so-called bullet payment of US $850 million is due to investors next August. Government has said it doesn't have the cash to pay up. One of Roger's solutions, get a loan from Petrotrin employees.
Petrotrin workers buy back the bond with a 10 to 15% monthly salary contribution. Now that is not a pay cut, that is a salary contribution, buying back the bond, which over time the workers would get back their money.
Other ideas to generate those funds include issuing a low-interest local bond and asking the lenders to refinance the loan.
Meantime, Barbados' Energy Minister Wilfred Abrams says the government has found a supplier to replace the Petrotrin refinery. He told local online newspaper Barbados Today that the government's oil importer, the Barbados National Oil Company Limited, BNOCL, will sign a new petroleum contract by November. but he has not disclosed the identity of the new supplier. BNOCL currently imports gasoline from Petrotrin and sells Barbadian crude oil to the Trinidadian refinery. Barbados is to receive its final Trinidadian shipment this month, and Minister Abrams says there will be sufficient stock to last until a new import deal is in place. The state of emergency and accompanying curfew that were declared by the Dominica government ahead of the expected arrival of Tropical Storm Isaac has been lifted more than 12 hours early. It was discontinued at 9 on Thursday night after initially set to be in effect until noon Friday. Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt made the announcement Thursday night, saying that he was acting on advice from the Chief of Police. That followed the discontinuation of a tropical storm warning for Dominica as Isaac, which had threatened to impact the island, moved away into the Caribbean Sea. Skerritt said that, by and large, Dominica had been spared the ravages of the storm and there was no major damage to infrastructure. He also reported that some citizens had defied the curfew that was put in place under the state of emergency, but most residents complied.
Can do all they should do and can do, but if we as citizens don't respect the laws, don't respect the orders of the police, then we can create a problem. But I believe by and large, with the exception of a few arrests in a couple communities, the majority of Dominicans behave themselves and respected order, and we want to thank you for that.
With the state of emergency lifted, public officers returned to work on Friday. Teachers and supporting school staff were also back on the job, but students are not expected to be back in the classrooms until Monday. Skerritt explained they were allowed to stay at home on Friday because some schools were used as shelters and have to be sanitized. Staying in Dominica, government says it will delay piloting legislation aimed at reforming the island's electoral process. Attorney General Levi Peters says the Skerritt administration had intended to begin debate on the amendments to the Registration of Electors Act as well as the House of Assembly Elections Act measures next week. But he says they agreed to postpone the debate to give stakeholders more time to discuss the issue. The proposed amendments will allow for the introduction of the National Identification Card, which will be issued to new electors, as well as to those registered electors whose eligibility to remain on the registers have been confirmed.
The government is satisfied that the bills are supported and recognized as balanced and protecting the right to vote of all persons entitled to vote in elections in Dominica, while preventing those who are not entitled to vote from doing so. However, the government is mindful of the fact that there are calls for continued consultation in respect of the bills. There are those who say that there has not been sufficient time, that they would like more time to be able to consult, and indeed some have indicated that they wish to make recommendations. That being the case, and the government having a responsibility to ensure that, so far as is reasonably possible, the society operates on a basis of consensus and on a basis of peace and tranquility.
Cayman Islands opposition has thrown its full support behind a petition calling for a referendum on the territory's proposed cruise port development. Last week, opposition leader Ezard Miller called on government to initiate a referendum on the controversial development. But the government has indicated it's not supporting the call for a national vote. So, in response, Miller said the opposition would now back the campaign for a people-initiated referendum. He accused government of misleading the public about the numbers relating to the project and said it had based the decision to press ahead on reports and surveys with conflicting findings. We get more in this Cayman 27 News report.
Last week, the opposition's motion calling for a government referendum on the cruise berthing project failed, but East End MLA Arden McLean says that's not the end of the matter.
They beat that down. Now it's our turn. Take note. We are supporting the people-initiated referendum. And I hope we get over the 5,000 so we can really slow this government down, and I hope we can get it soon.
The CPR petition is gathering signatures to trigger a voter-initiated referendum. At last count, those behind the petition said they were nearing 2,000 signatures.
Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, murders on the decline in Jamaica. That story and more when we return.
Dominica's World Creole Music Festival in 2018, October 26, 27, 28 at the Windsor Park Stadium in the capital city, Roseau. 3 nights, over 8 genres, 40 years of independence, 1 location, Dominica, the 20th edition of Dominica's World Creole Music Festival. For more information, like our Facebook page, Dominica Festivals. Visit our website, www.dominicafestivals.com for all travel, accommodation, and ticketing details. My love, my home, my Dominica. Building a resilient nation. See you there! Proudly sponsored by the Government of Dominica and Discover Dominica Authority.
This month on Caribbean Passport, we take a bite into Barbados at the Food and Rum Festival. We get an intimate look into this world-class event by top chefs and mixologists. And if that isn't enough spice, we visit Pure Grenada. All coming up right here on this station.
Welcome back. We continue with news out of Guyana. President David Granger says the country's prison service is facing chronic problems, but he says the Ministry of Public Security is working to fix them. Over the past couple months, inspections of prisons across the country have uncovered several illegal items in inmates' possession. We get more in this HGP Nightly News Report.
Prison service continues to grapple with contraband, which is being facilitated by some prison wardens. And although recruitment requirements have been upgraded, some prison officers continue to fall prey to greed. President Granger says that the relevant authorities are working on plans that, once implemented, will result in significant changes in the prison system.
So these are deep-seated problems which require long-term solutions. At the heart of the problem is, of course, the quality of manpower, and I believe the Minister of Public Security is working on having better conditions of service and recruiting a superior type of person who would not be so susceptible to bribery and corruption.
President Granger addressing reporters on Wednesday about the issue of contraband being discovered frequently at prisons throughout Guyana. He stated that these problems are not matters which have recently sprung up, but that for years they, along with other issues, have plagued the prison service.
The prison service has, chronic problems. I'm sure the older ones among you would have recalled the days when prisoners would get on the roofs and items would be thrown over the walls. At one stage, part of Mazaruni was burned down. More recently, July the 9th, the Camp Street prison was burned down.
Last week, police arrested one of their own after that rank attempted to smuggle several items, including a mobile phone, into the Lozignan prison on the east coast of Demerara. Senior prison officers have suggested that it is corrupt officials at the prison who have been facilitating the activities.
The number of murders in Jamaica is continuing to decline. The latest statistics for 2008 up to this month show an almost 20% drop compared to the same period last year. And the states of emergency and zones of special operations, ZOSOs, are being credited for the decline. TVJ's Herman Green reports.
Murders continue to trend down. Figures released earlier this week by the Constabulary Force show there were 219 fewer murders, a 2% decline for the year so far up to September 8. Still, 902 homicides were recorded. Among the figures, 34 children. By all indications, the enhanced security measures are having an impact. St. James, which is under a state of public emergency, has recorded far fewer murders so far this year. 68 people have been killed versus 201 in the same period of 2017. Shootings are also down in the parish, falling from 157 last year to 74. In the Kingston Western Division, where Zoso is in effect, murders and shootings are down as well. 63 people have been killed, down from 75 last year, and shootings down from 98 to 53. For this year, Westmoreland, St. Andrews South, and Clarendon recorded the highest number of killings and shootings. The clear-up rate for serious crimes, according to the report, is 49%. For accusatory crimes such as robbery and break-in, there were also reductions in the number of reported cases. Larceny, however, showed an increase, 17 more cases this year. Pradial larceny cases have also declined, showing 22 less reported cases in 2018.
Staying in Jamaica, the government says it's taking steps to improve air quality across the capital, Kingston, following a report from the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, which showed toxic chemicals affecting thousands of people in 3 parishes. Shamala Pullin of TVJ News reports.
NEPA's study was conducted during and after the Riverton City dump fire, which blanketed the corporate area with smoke for several days last month. Among other things, the study concluded that the fire at the Riverton disposal facility resulted in deteriorated air quality that affected southern St. Andrew and Kingston, as well as sections of southeastern St. Catherine. It also found that elevated levels of certain gases and particulate matter could have negative implications on the residents' health. Speaking at Wednesday's post-cabinet press briefing, Minister without portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister, Darrell Vaz, said the government will be taking steps to improve the air quality around the capital. Mr. Vaz said the measures will also address the issue of the 1.5 million tires that are currently in and around Riverton City Dump.
New arrangements for the disposal of tires, which will include the shredding of those tires. And those negotiations continue. It will be a PPP, and we are looking forward to working.
Mr. Vaz said as soon as that is concluded, it will go to Cabinet, after which a definitive announcement will be made.
Ahead in Newsline Sport, Dwayne Bravo could make a Windies comeback for next year's ICC Cricket World Cup. We'll explain after the break.
This hurricane tip comes to you compliments the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and the Caribbean Media Corporation. Be prepared. Remain dressed with shoes in the event that an evacuation is required.
This summer and fall, Brilliant Barbados is offering you hotel discounts of up to 40% off regular rates when you book through Expedia before October 31st, 2018. Discover our Dine Around program specials at participating restaurants across the island, starting from US $50 per person on 3-course meals. For further information and full details to book your Barbados holiday, visit brilliantbarbados.com.
So the kitchery has been on for about 10 minutes since we added the rice and the seasonings. So now we're going to strain the coconut milk into there. Koi bhaji that we have put up.
We're right here in St. Anne's Bay Town, and traffic has halted for the Chance Chocolates Dancing Dynamites. Dynamites link up, are you ready? And it's a deaf and delicious stop as well in St. Anne's Bay. But why this competition? Why so much?
Because from a younger stage coming up, I've always been watching. So, well, my first dream was to be on TV and be on that stage, and I'm finally there. So that's why I really love, because I love dancing.
Welcome back to sport. Dwayne Bravo turning out for the Trinidad and Tobago Red Force in the regional Super 50 competition next month has opened up the possibility of him making a return to the West Indies team for next year's ICC Cricket World Cup. Following a 3-year hiatus from the Super 50, the Trinidadian was named as vice-captain of the Red Force for the tournament, which will run from October 3rd to 28th. Since making his debut in 2004, Bravo has played 164 ODIs for the West Indies and has scored 2,968 runs with an average of 29.36. He scored 2 centuries and 5 half-centuries. Bravo has also taken 199 wickets at an average of 29.51 and an economy rate of 5.41. The Red Force team will be captained by Dinesh Ramdin. There will be 2 groups of teams, with Group A playing in Trinidad and Group B in Barbados, with the semi-finals and final being staged in Barbados. TNT is in Group A and will play their first match on October 3rd against the Windward Islands at the Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain. Former West Indies captain Shivnarine Chandapal has been selected to be an ambassador by Cricket West Indies for the upcoming ICC Women's World T20. The 44-year-old Chandapal has joined the Windies Ambassador Program and, along with other selected ambassadors, will make a variety of appearances between September and November. The ICC Women's World T20 will be held in the Caribbean from November 9th to 24th and will feature 10 of the world's best teams. The West Indies women are the defending champions. Chandapal, who started playing for the Windies at 19 and led them in 14 tests and 16 ODIs, said he was delighted to have been selected. Tournament director Jennifer Nero said Chandapal's addition to the program will be well received. The ICC Women's T20 will be held at the Providence Ground in Guyana, the Darren Sammy Stadium in St. Lucia, and the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium in Antigua. Still in cricket, Grenada's Sports Minister Norland Cox is echoing the sentiments of the country's Prime Minister about the economic benefits to be gained from the island hosting 2 ODI matches between the West Indies and England next year. Grenada will be hosting international cricket for the first time in 4 years. And we hear in this report from GBN's Blossom Alexis Welch, the Sports Minister stressed the importance of the island hosting the matches at this time.
A successful bid has confirmed 2 international matches for Grenada for next year. For major international home series tours against England and India, countries are asked by Cricket West Indies to bid for matches. Once the bids are received, they are reviewed by the CWI International Fixtures Committee, after which a recommendation is made to the board for a final decision on the tour schedule. Cricket West Indies says the January to March 2019 series is the biggest and most comprehensive tour in a decade and historically is one of the most economically viable for the region. Minister of Sports Senator Norland Cox says it is a deal that would reap benefits for the country's economy.
We believe that this investment is important. Sports and cricket is important for Grenada. It's important for development of our young people. As a government, we have a responsibility to do everything that we can to keep them engaged. And as such, the costs, while we have a responsibility to manage the country's finances, we are more looking at opportunities that our young people are able to derive from this tournament more than the costs. We are juggling with everything that we can, as I indicated earlier on. The CEO of West Indies Cricket, they have been working with us to see how we can address the issue of costs.
CWI announced the tour last month and Grenada is down to host 2 ODIs on February 25th and 27th.
So apart from the cost for the match, we have all the other auxiliary costs in terms of hosting, preparations, everything else. So maybe after the games next year, we could probably tell you how much we would have invested in that initiative, and we can talk further. But for now, I can tell you the figure is going up. That is all I can say. It's going up.
The 2-month tour, comprising 3 test matches, 5 ODIs and 3 T20s, will be played in 5 of the region's top tourist destinations, with the tour starting in Barbados and ending in St. Kitts.
The Trinidad and Tobago government has rolled out a sports policy promising that national athletes will be rewarded for outstanding performance at regional and international meets. At the policy launch, several athletes received $5 million TT dollars for their performances at the recently concluded Central American and Caribbean Games. But in this report from Kent Fuentes of TTT, Chairman of Sports Company of Trinidad and Tobago Limited, Douglas Camacho, signaled a warning to athletes that the days of financial handouts are over.
Camacho praised the policy for its focus on accountability for funding, a sore point in recent years.
The days for freeness done, right? And I say that not to mean that there will not be assistance, grants, etc. But I think as a nation, this attitude we sometimes have of our hands out only to see what we could get, right? And not doing what is required to be a partner to make it happen is over.
He says the faster the policy accomplishes its goals, the better for all.
Let us not get hung up on the 17 to 27. If we could achieve the objectives in half the time and review and revise it, then let us do that. Let us go out there and take the bull by the horns. Let us make it work.
Lewis, meanwhile, believes the policy can inspire us all to want better for sport in the country.
And we now have the launch of the National Sport Policy in 2017. We have two approaches to it. It is either it is a false hope because of disappointment some of us may have gone through, or it represents the dawn of a new era and full of hope.
He added that sport can no longer be seen as amateur, and the new policy points towards a professional approach for sport.
It provides a framework that seeks to bring an important principle of good governance, which is predictability, transparency, and accountability.
The policy covers sport from the grassroots level all the way up to the professional ranks. Kent.
And that's the sport. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
Dominica's World Creole Music Festival in 2018, October 26, 27, 28 at the Windsor Park Stadium in the capital city, Roseau. 3 nights, over 8 genres, 40 years of independence, 1 location, Dominica, the 20th edition of Dominica's World Creole Music Festival. For more information, like our Facebook page, Dominica Festivals. Visit our website, www.dominicafestivals.com for all travel, accommodation, and ticketing details. My love, my home, my Dominica. Building a resilient nation. See you there. Proudly sponsored by the Government of Dominica and Discover Dominica Authority.
Tell us who Brian Giles is.
Brian Giles is an ex-baseball player. He played for the Padres most recently, and he grew up here in San Diego, so that was a big aspect of this case.
Tell us about why this case developed in the first place.
Well, it all goes back to when Brian kind of made it big. When he was traded to the Pirates, he got this very large contract.
Again, the major developments of this day, the Oilfield Workers Trade Union seeks a partner to enter a joint venture lease arrangement to take over Trinidad and Tobago's soon-to-be-closed oil refinery. And in sport, Dwayne Bravo could return to the West Indies team for next year's ICC Cricket World Cup. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sports round the clock, log on to CanonNews.com. For more of our programming, log on to CaribVision.tv and subscribe to CaribVision's YouTube channel. We'll be back here again on Monday, but from all of us at CNC News, thank you for watching and have yourselves a good night and a safe weekend.